Without any further ado, open technologies to guarantee human rights with Hellekin, a hacker and open free software activist to and we have Oscar Espiritu Santo, who's going to be interviewing him, who's a family of Cibervoluntarios, who's member of the family of Cibervoluntarios. Thanks a lot for being here. I thought that my favorite number was 3. It was going to be 3 of us, but Arturo's missing. So we want to send Arturo a warm hug to wherever he is in Italy. And we have Hellekin here. Hellekin wanted to send him a hug, and he's going to tell us about the topic that he's developing. Hello. We're going to mix Spanish and English. As you can see, Hellekin is spectacular in general. He's Basque and he's Scottish. He's a little Chinese too. And this multicultural mix is going to inform our conversation. And we're going to go beyond what Antonio and Melanie were saying, although we're going to approach similar topics. Go ahead.
Quizás, bueno, tenemos un ángel arriba. Gracias, ángel. So we were supposed to
There's an angel somewhere.
Blasto from the ONI project, Observatory of Network Interference on Open Technologies Guaranteeing Human Rights. Since he could not make it to Malaga, and this year's theme is Decoding Digital Colonialism, I wanted to make a brief introduction on technologies and human rights. Digital colonialism is, like colonialism, a matter of asymmetric power relations, where a mighty party imposes its views to the colonized. Don't take me wrong. It all comes from very good intentions. Those savages don't know better, and we're here to help. Maybe some of you remember this scene on TV in 2003 in Baghdad. Rounded up women were crying, and this American GI, exceeded with their complaints and moans, suddenly burst and shouted, "Shut the fuck up! We're here to bring you democracy!" Obviously, there's an abyss between the goal and means taken to achieve that goal. This is something to keep in mind. The colonialist mindset is on a goal, which is to replace the existing with what the invader considers best, not only, and allow me here to use a gender term, for himself, but best for all. It would be presumptuous, though, to dare imagining what's best for all, don't you think? Yet the colonialist mind comes with intention and certitude. We are always right. As you may know by now, yesterday, Karim Khan, prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, filed applications for warrants of arrest before pre-trial Chamber 1 of the International Criminal Court in the situation in the state of Palestine. These warrants target the heads of Hamas, as well as the Israeli Prime Minister and its Minister of Defense for war crimes and crimes against humanity. This is a significant step to bring justice to victims of war crimes in the Middle East. Immediately, the international community reacted to support Netanyahu, calling Khan's decision a scandal. I'm citing Joe Biden. Uri Avneri, a German Jew who settled in Palestine in 1933 and who fought in the Zionist armed militias before the creation of the State of Israel, to later become a writer, a journalist, an elected deputy at the Knesset, Israel's parliament, and the founder of the Israeli peace movement, Gush Shalom, published in 2009, 15 years before the Operation Protective Edge, Operation Strong Cliff in Hebrew, against Gaza in 2014, published is a text where I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs. He was considering the role of propaganda in the war on Gaza and did not hesitate to invoke both the Russians and the Nazis in this made-up retell of the Battle of Stalingrad, as if the other side had won. Here it is. Nearly 70 years ago, in the course of World War II, a heinous crime was committed in the city of Leningrad. For more than 1,000 days, a gang of extremists called the Red Army held the millions of the town's inhabitants hostage and provoked retaliation from the German Wehrmacht from inside the population centers. The Germans had no alternative but to bomb and shell the population and to impose a total blockade, which caused the death of hundreds of thousands. Sometimes before that, a similar crime was committed in England. The Churchill gang hid among the population of London, misusing millions of citizens as a human shield. The Germans were compelled to send their Luftwaffe and reluctantly reduced the city to ruins. I was reminded when I shared this text earlier that there's something very closer to her. Maybe you can switch the slide.
¿Podemos cambiar la slide?
Here we go. Here you see two people from Malaga. One of them is hidden. So in 1937, Luis Bolin, who was the chief of propaganda of Franco, said that the Republicans exploded their own city, right? Exploded the city of Guernica. And it took until 1950s no, after Franco's death.
Yes. 1976, something like that.
To realize that it was all a lie and that it was actually bombed by the Luftwaffe in support of Franco's attack on Bilbao. So if we're talking about colonized spaces, we should keep in mind that the colonizer is always right, his intentions are always noble, the enemy is always heinous, and if you disagree, you're a traitor. I want to refer you to the very useful book of 10 Principles of War Propaganda by Anne Morelli, who demystifies and deconstructs war propaganda's invariants. Now back to our program. In the context of decoding digital colonialism, we cannot apply the same reading grid as for territorial colonialism, can we? Except if we consider that all these digital spaces require humongous extractive powers, gigantic mining pits, an insane amount of water put to waste, and sacrificed population just to get the raw materials that will end up in our electronic devices. Most of the computers, including electric cars and their 1,500 microchips, require 4 more times energy they will consume over their lifetime usage just to be built. What do we have to fight this Leviathan? Decentralized free software, enthusiastic humans, and a handful of euros in the face of a monster, a slingshot against an armored tank. Now I'm closing this parenthesis on colonialism, digital colonialism, and the asymmetry of power. But keep in mind, it's been there all along. What we're up against is a dominant narrative of warfare. What we need is a narrative insurrection.
Okay, perfect. Como podéis comprobar, es un...
As you can see, he's a great hacker. He hacked my interview. So, you were talking about certain things. We've been hacking the system since 1998. That's when we started having some tools, and the year 2000 came. Have we improved? What have we been able to do? Were we able to hack the system? Up to what point? In 2010, I was involved in a project that probably all of you know, N-1. 10 hackers were living in a squatter house in Amsterdam, and we were smoking joints. All of you were smoking joints. All of you were smoking joints? Was that a must? Yes. 24 hours. Because you need fuel to be working for so long. So we were living in a squatted house. We were not rich, definitely. And we were eating discarded food from the system. Pretty good food, actually. Free. And what was the outcome of the project? What were you doing? 2 years after, we held a meeting in Berlin with people with peer-to-peer networks. And what happened was that all the projects there that were present, all the people there had the same problem. We don't have money. We don't have the dough to do anything. So in 2012, we started thinking, how could we fund free software? How can we stop depending on Americans? So in 2012, what happened? Or you had a previous project, or what happened? A little earlier, in 2018, NGI Zero started. And what is it about? Is it a project to fund projects, or what is it? To talk about NGI Zero,
Okay.
Because NGI Zero is in English, so
in English,
I need to keep this. So, yeah. NGI Zero came as a very welcome way of funding free software in Europe. It was an initiative of NLNet, who gathered a lot of different organizations. We were on the first round, we were 14 organizations. It's been rotating a bit, but it's always organizations close to the free software community. And Melanie, with Radically Open Security, is part of it, and has been part of it since the beginning. It's because Melanie has been funding, as she said, €1 million over 10 years to NLNet, so it's normal that she's part of it. But also because there's a need for security audits in free software. We might come back to that, but I'm not sure. We don't have more important things to talk about. Yeah, so far, I don't have better figures than Melanie, but we have been funding more than 1,000 free software projects, from €5,000 to €50,000 for one open call, up to €3,000, and now with the newer project, up to €5,000 to a single project. And open calls are every 2 months on the first day of the month. So next one is June 1st.
It's like a hub of developers or something like that, and you get the funding for these projects.
I'm sorry, I have issues hearing you, actually.
What's that?
Can you speak louder?
Louder, okay. I mean, this is a hub for developers, your project, something like that, and you get the funding for some projects that I think you are chosen or something like that. So
within the NGI Zero project, I work with a non-profit based in Belgium called Petites Singularités, Pequeñas Singularidades, small singularities, plural. It's important because we're working with communities. So our role there is to mentor free software projects. That means we accompany free software developers in their endeavors, spending this money from the European Commission, but also dealing with all kinds of stuff that can occur to them, including psychological stuff and internal community affairs or legal counsel and so on. But for this, we have very few money. I don't know if you are familiar with European projects, but it comes with a lot of money, and you have to deal with money in person months. So you have a number of person months over years. The project lasts for 3 years, that usually goes 4, and you have like 5 PMs to spend on this. That means you cannot spend more than 2 days with someone over the course of the project. So instead of doing this, we decided to create a community and focus on a part of the free software community that we thought was interesting at this time, which is ActivityPub. Maybe I will talk about it a bit because I realized that Empodera
after we can talk
has
about
presence over a number of social media, but not a single federated grassroots one. So probably we should discuss this so that next time we can have federated conversations with free software at Empodera Live. Okay, so yeah.
We talked yesterday about Toller.
Yeah.
What is that? Is another project is in the same project of NGI Zero or
Toller started in 2015. And it was funded at some point, among other funding sources.
So there.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we should go back another one. Yeah. We can talk about Tyler later. I really want to talk about this because most of this software here have received NGI Zero funding. And this community started in 2019. At the time, ActivityPub was, okay, so ActivityPub, back in time.
Come back
so,
to ActivityPub.
In 2010, 2011, we had this O-Status Federation, where people wanted to make federated web, federated social web, and it had ups and downs. One thing people don't know really is that Lorea was the first software to implement it fully, but we kind of lost the next version in the Plaza Cataluña acampada. Los mozos de escuadras nos dijeron que
The local police said that the computer disappeared. You remember Franco's police, Guardia Civil. So the Guardia Civil said that the Mossos d'Esquadra Catalonian's regional police stole the computer. The good thing about it is that it didn't run on Windows. So the keyword is impunity. Okay. So
because it's very difficult for me to think about computers and software.
It's not a problem. You can speak in English, you can speak in Spanish, but we are trying to don't speak in...
Sorry for the translators.
Yeah. Okay,
So
I think we can talk about Toller because...
I want to talk about Tyler later because this is more important.
you have to speak with Jorge because the time is short.
Okay,
we
what
have-
time do we have? I thought we had 3/4 of hours, and now, what time is it? We need to...
At what time we have to finish? 5 minutes? Something
Only
like that.
5 minutes?
Only 5 minutes.
Come on!
We have to hack this.
Okay, so... Dale.
Pararlo todo. The president is going to make a question.
Have to stop everything, there's a question. Hi, Hellekin. I know you have a lot of things in your hair, so we need to really understand it. When you talked about your project, the open code software project, from your point of view, what was the main achievement, not just for the open source communities? What about the impact of them in the communities? Well, I think the most important thing is for people doing open code to be in contact with their users directly. So that's why we propose this way to work together. As Melanie was saying, it is important to do maybe little things or a few things, but together to develop technologies that we care about. So this is the way we propose. This is a project that received or was funded by NGI Zero, Erdest.
Back to English.
Space Cookie is a developer from Berlin, and she proposed this idea of software syndicalism, this approach to software to decentralize, to decolonize the way free software is done, with the myth of the hero and the myth of the all-knowing master and his followers, and the master branch that now on Git repositories, we don't call it master anymore, we call it main, which is very good because we're on the way to decentralize it. And now with software syndicalism, the idea is to get the power back to citizens so that they can say, okay, for example, let's say you're a dentist or you're an architect. All the software you're using, because you are using software nowadays, is proprietary. And I met a dentist in Brazil, and he told me, hey, look, I'm playing with Blender, which is a free software, 3D, it's a 3D software, yeah? And if there were more people like me using Blender, then we would be able to make our own free software for dentists. There is such a software called GNU Health that comes from Argentina and that is used in public hospitals up to Cuba. Cuba has the best doctors in the world. Everybody knows that because they have, good education. Anyway, there are many such approaches that workers can do to make their own software instead of depending on proprietary software. With Thaler, with NGI Thaler, we're willing to bring a free software payment system to the Eurozone within 3 years. So next year already, it will be available in Euro, and we are going to make a pilot with the independent book sector, so that bookshops, publishers, print shops, authors can share revenue using GNU-Taler. And GNU-Taler has two very important characteristics. First, it's free software, and it guarantees the anonymity of the buyer. So if you got cancer and you go to the pharmacy to get your stuff, your insurance company nor your employer will ever know it. Yeah. And the second is it's going to be available in Euro next year, and it's free software. It's free software. That means we are in control of it. We are in control, all of us. And the alternative is Amazon or Thales.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you, but don't you think that the software library and the open source community are making a real... Yes, we are going to talk... Just a minute.
We have to break for lunch, Jorge said.
Like Yolanda said, a very big project and great projects in the software community. But don't you think that it's difficult to give the projects to the regular people, to the citizens? Don't you think that you are in something like a freaky sphere that it's difficult to tell the other people that this software is very good for you? Don't you see something like that, that is difficult to communicate? What are you doing?
It's very difficult indeed. But look at it that way. If you were a parent and your children come back home with McDonald's stuff, yeah, and you ask them, where did you get that? And you say, oh, well, you know, it's cool. McDonald's is serving us food now. What do you think would happen? People would rise up and would throw away the food, and they would get sane food for their children.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to think about collectively about what is technology, what technology do we want? Because if we don't do that, well, other people will do it for us.
Yeah, for sure. We have to talk about it. What is that?
It's the first of a collection of free software organization books. So if you're a free software developer and want to talk about how your software is organized, come to me. And if you want to read it, I have a few of them, so you can go back home with it as well.
And you are publishing more books like this?
Yeah. This is the first one. We are free licensing our books.
Perfect.
So
you can copy.
You can go to the page here and you have a URL, and on the URL you can download the PDF, and it's a free out license. But you can also buy the book, and if you buy the book, we can make more. We're a non-profit.
Okay. ¿Quieres pasar alguna pregunta?
¿Tiene alguna pregunta?
Any questions? Yes, one. And I will make the last one. Yeah, Antonio kept the last question for himself.
To talk about free software with some people, so if you're interested, we can do that as well.
Yeah, it's very interesting to talk with him because it's unbelievable how many projects has in his mind. And he can explain very good to you. You have to do this for the people, to explain these projects, because I think all of these projects are in a box, and it's difficult to access to this project. Pensaba que estaba solo.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Also involved in NGI projects like this, and I wonder, just to revert the structure of property in which, you know, a large company usually owns the infrastructure that workers use. In your funding project, in your initiatives, what are the strategies that you are thinking for, let's say, workers to own their own digital infrastructure in the projects that you're funding?
I'm not sure I got the question right, but I think that a lot of free software projects now are got the idea and start organizing as cooperatives, and especially on the Fediverse, we are the phase is ending where everyone was mimicking proprietary software and make Twitter alternatives or Instagram alternatives. Now we're more into, hey, how can we federate our forum? So we can now federate forums. So WordPress as well, NodeBB, Flarum, Discourse are all federated by now. And this was a whole grassroots experience. The next step for me is that these people take the initiative to create an entity that will become a cooperative and enable more people to participate, including non-developers. And really, I think that I mentioned dentists and architects, but and the book sector, but there are plenty of jobs that would what was the term
For what?
Yeah, the branches of industry, right?
Yeah.
Work sectors, I don't know, to come together and make something happen that comes from cooperativism and not from competition. Competition is dead. I mean, if we keep competing with each other, we will kill each other, and we're well armed for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So probably what world do we want to live in? I mean, we're going to enjoy a very nice meal, I'm sure, and I'm pretty happy that nobody will come to me and put a fork in my body, you know?
No, it's not how navigate happen.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. And
So-
no, this is the last one. Yes.
Ya está. No podemos pasar.
I'm going to be like Antonio. No, it's just one question. No, I think the conclusion is
No.
we are
Conclusion, no. Pregunta.
yeah, this is the conclusion. The conclusion is we are talking about open source. We are talking about hacking. We are talking right now about these books. How explain to my man all of this, to my mother?
Oh yeah.
It's possible to explain this to a mother with love.
So I use SSH to connect to my parents' computer, because when I learned that they were buying computer, I told them, okay, but it has to run Debian, otherwise I won't support it. So I installed Debian, I installed SSH Restore, and at some point they changed provider, and it didn't work anymore. So I called my mother and I told her, okay, open a terminal and type this. And I had her debug her own connection from a Unix terminal at 80 years old. So I think it's possible to talk to your mother about free software and what we can do about technology. And if you think, and you're not 80 years old, that technology is not for you, well, think about your clothes. Probably you didn't make them either.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you. This is for you and for your mother. Thank you.